So it seems that this is pretty flexible cord area anyway, so should have took it out through the bottom. But anyways, we're here now and we're going to put it in through the bottom. So it's just a matter of wiggling this and getting it. So yeah, the starter motor. Yeah, it looks okay. So what I got here now is I got one of these things I'm just going to stick in here to help me wiggle everything in place. See that? It's just a steel punch. Another steel punch here. And put that one here. Just use that one to help me wiggle everything in place. So, alright, so what I'm going to do now is go on the top side and get that starter, get the top bolt hand tight. Okay, so we're on the top here now. Stick this bolt in here, hand, and just get it started. So snug that top bolt in. Probably you could tighten this down a little bit with the wrench, but not too much, because you want to be able to wiggle the motor around. So you can set it up in its bracket just right. Alright, so back to the bottom. So what I'm going to do here now, I'm going to take this one, I'm going to stick it in here. Get it started by hand. Alright. It's on the threads. Run this one in here now. Yeah, this one here takes a little bit more motivation because it's got to go through and it's got to engage with the engine mount bracket, and I guess the engine might have settled just a little bit. So it's a matter of doing this until you can get it to catch. Fiddle with the jack up and down until you can see it's not catching on the bolts, because on this side over here, as you can see over here, that's the engine mount bracket right there, and that guy here is slightly off, so we've got to line that up now. And when I got that lined up, then I can get that bolt. I just jacked it up with this in place. I kept on jacking it up. I put this bolt in till it almost all the way through, then I jacked it up, and so this bolt became really tight in the hole because I jacked it up with the hole with this bolt in place. So that would be the way to do it. Stick this bolt in, jack the engine up, and then this will fall right in the hole as you're jacking the engine up. So this is all the way through now. So this is pretty much just a little bit tight, and the top one's a little bit tight. So now we need to put the torque wrench on them and torque them properly. Okay, so we got the torque wrench set up for 44 foot-pounds. You put that on the top bolt. Now, you keep this one 44 foot-pounds, unless you're like your father's torque wrench, which is a German torque wrench called Good and Tight. Okay, come on, baby, click for me, click for me. No, she's still going. Here you go. 44 foot-pounds. Now for the bottom. Now these two nuts here, these go in at 33 foot-pounds. So you just keep turning them until you get 30, until she clicks. That's that one. And this one. Let's see. That's that. And this thing here goes back on. And that goes on. Just if you want to put this on with a torque wrench, you could. 7 foot-pounds. I'll just put it on. You know, good and tight. That should be good enough. There you go. Good and tight. Alright. Now, Now we gotta hook those cables up. Okay, so at the top here now, take this bolt off, this nut, take this nut off. And there should be a lock washer in there, brass lock washer. Take that off too. And then these two cables will go on to this post that I'm taking off here. Now while you're at it, go over and get yourself some sand. See this lock washer. Get yourself a bit of sandpaper or steel wool, preferably sandpaper, and clean up these battery posts, these connector posts a bit, because they are probably corroded or rusty or whatever. If you shine them up with some sandpaper, that will make them have better electrical contact, and everything will work better. So that's what you want to do there. Clean them up. Stay on. Okay, so this goes on. That goes on. Now, like that. Now we put the washer on. And we put the nut on. Now you can tighten that up. It doesn't have to go too tight. Just put the wrench on it. Keep turning your wrench until you feel it's nice and tight. Now if you're going to use a long wrench like I'm using here, you don't want to put too much force on it. You're just trying to make electrical contact, that's all. And that's probably good enough right there. So back to the top side then. Connect that back in there like that. On the bottom side then, this connector goes plugged onto that trigger, starter trigger input. This is the trigger wire from the ignition switch. Alright, so that's on there. And then this here can go put back in its hole. Alright. So now the next thing is to put the negative cable on. When I do this, the alarm is going to beep for 1 second, but that's okay. Oh, before we do that, we want to take a bit of sandpaper and clean up the negative battery post just a little bit. Okay, so take a little bit of sandpaper, just a little weight, just enough to break any surface oxidation. Ooh, look at that. Spark, cut the steel wool on fire. Okay, clean that up, make it nice and shiny. Likewise, take your steel wool and put in your connector and make that nice and shiny too. This all likes to be nice and clean and shiny and free of grease and dirt and oil. And it's going to make a beep, but the alarm shouldn't go off. If the alarm goes off, just put the key in the door and lock the door and unlock the door again. Okay. That's it. This is on tight. And this goes tighten just a little bit. Okay, so that's pretty much tight. You want to put a smear of Vaseline on your battery terminal such that as the battery discharges, you tend to get this green or powdery shit build up in your terminals. That's the hydrogen and stuff like that coming out of the gases coming out of the battery. And that can tend to turn your terminals, make corrosion and stuff. So put a little bit of smear of Vaseline on that terminal, and that will help reduce that. Okay, so that is done. So now we can put the car back on the ground. Alright, so the last thing to do now before we put the car down is you got to put this splash panel back up and under the car. Pin here. That just goes pressed down like that. This one here just presses on like that. And press that up into place. And that's on there now. That's it. So now she can go on the ground. So there's nothing obvious from the outsides of this thing. Why it works most of the time, but every now and then it doesn't work. And when it doesn't work, I mean, it's not like it click, 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 and it doesn't want to start. I mean, it's just like the battery's dead. There's no click, there's no nothing. Turn the key, there's no indication of why this starter won't work. I have an idea. So I think maybe in the future we'll we'll do another video where we'll pick down this starter, we'll look at the insides, and I'll explain to you how the motor works and why I think this one doesn't. So leave your response to this video if you want to tell me what you think, and what you think of perhaps doing a future video of picking down this starter. Okay, thanks for watching.